Hello everyone, this is Marina from SoInTheRaw.com and I'm a raw food expert, and today I want to talk about an issue that's very interesting to many vegans and non-vegans alike, and that's calcium. So a lot of people think that getting calcium, the only way to do it is from dairy, and that's actually a myth that I want to address. And then at the same time, a lot of vegans think that, oh, it's so easy and we're going to get calcium, we don't need to worry about it. And that's also kind of a myth that I want to talk about. Now, I'm not going to cover everything in this video because I wrote a detailed article about this with your daily values for calcium, some of the best ways to get it, some of the ways to get rid of your dairy addiction, and some recipes too. But I am going to show you a great recipe for a vegan calcium source, and I'm also going to cover just a couple of interesting points. So talking about milk and dairy and why that's not a good source of calcium is because even though dairy does contain calcium, it's a package. So it comes with a lot of other things that are not so good for us, like fat and cholesterol. Now, if you've ever heard of the China study, this is the largest nutrition study that was ever done. And I was reading something really interesting in here about milk. So milk, the consumption of it is tied really closely with type 1 diabetes. In fact, infants that drink milk instead of breast milk are have an 11.3 times greater risk than breastfed infants to develop type 1 diabetes. And just to put that into perspective, with cigarette smokers, they have a 10 times greater risk to develop lung cancer. So this statistic is even greater than the association of smoking and lung cancer. Can you believe that? That's huge. I don't know why more people don't know about this. And what happens is basically when you drink milk as an infant, cow's milk, of course, the protein from the cow's milk is not always entirely digested. So some of it remains in the intestine and the blood. And then your immune system wants to remove it. The problem is that it confuses this remaining protein in your pancreatic cells, which produce insulin. Your immune system starts to remove both the pancreatic cells that produce the insulin as well as the remaining protein from the cow's milk. And so that's how infants begin to develop type 1 diabetes. That's the trajectory, basically. And that's just one example of how bad cow's milk is for the human body. There's also, of course, the high amount of cholesterol, the high amount of fat, which also contribute to things like heart disease, type 2 diabetes as well, and other things. So it's a package. Even though cow's milk has some calcium, it also comes with negative parts as well. Now, if we look at plant sources of calcium, those come with only positive side effects. So that's a huge bonus. And it's very easy to get your calcium. What you have to make sure to do is to eat a whole food diet. So minimize your processed food, minimize your vegan junk food, and you should be fine. And I've also listed some great sources of vegan calcium in the article. And right now I'm going to show you a great recipe that actually incorporates 3 of them. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get to it. Okay, so now we're going to make our oatmeal recipe, and this is a very quick one. We're going to use some oats, and don't worry about the measurements. I'll link all of them below. We're going to do some water. And you just want enough to kind of get it wet, but not soaking wet. So after you put in your water into your calcium-rich oats, you're going to mix it up. And contrary to popular belief, it's totally enough to leave it for 5-10 minutes to kind of get soft. And that's good enough. Or you can leave it overnight too if you want to make it ahead of time. And then for some sweetness, we are going to use organic coconut nectar, but you can also use maple or date syrup, anything you like. And we're gonna mix that up too. And you see it's already starting to get soggy. So you don't need to cook this one. It's very, very nice. And then we're gonna do some cloves. This is a really nice spice, but you don't want too much. So really just a pinch of cloves. It's got lots of antioxidants, by the way. And some cinnamon, which helps with your blood sugar. And this you can do to taste. I like lots, as you can see. I love making this when I'm going hiking. It's a lot of fun to eat when you're hiking because it's, you know, nice and rich in calories. It's also really easy to take on the go. And now we've got our little bonus, which is blackstrap molasses. These are really, really rich in calcium. Not everybody likes the flavor, so if you don't, you can just take a tablespoon with water instead of putting it into your oatmeal. But if you do, go for it. And we're gonna mix that together. And another little bonus is figs, because dried figs, as well as fresh, but dried, you know, they're more concentrated. They're high in calcium, so I'm just gonna put 3, and you can put in as many as you like. And lastly, we're gonna put in some berries. Now, this one you can put in as many as you want, and as whichever fruit you like, whichever berry or stone fruit like peaches. I'm using blueberries right now. And of course, we all know how healthy berries are. And that's it. See how easy that is? I've made this for my best friend who's very skeptical, and she loved it. So there you go.